Hi guys, hi Facebook people and Instagram people.
Hi.
Great to have all of you guys here with us again. So this is Adrina.
Hello, everybody.
And I'm Audrey. And today we'll be hosting the session on learning to code. So we've gathered quite a number of questions, right?
Yep, we've got from Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. So quite a number of questions. I think before that, let's just share this across with some of our friends. Give us a second. Okay. So maybe do you have anything you want? What do you think about coding, Adrina?
Well, coding is in these days there's a lot of companies that are looking for people who know how to code, right?
Yep.
And pretty much everything you do these days you need code, right? These days there's a lot of languages as well. A lot of people might find it a little bit confusing about what languages they need to learn and what they need to pick up. So I believe Next Academy helps a lot of these students get on the right path, right?
Yeah, I think now these days, recently there's this really big news where people are like saying that, in certain countries in Thailand, the second language, the first language is Thai, and the second language right now is coding.
Right?
When it comes to a lot of other countries are adopting it as a language as well.
That's
so
true.
I think it has been it has been very interesting to see where we are going to.
Correct. And there's a lot of companies, you'd be surprised, in different industries as well, such as like florists are asking for people who know how to code, maybe even in cars, music, right? Yeah, because it serves a lot of functions. So it really depends on what you want to do with the code. Right?
Yeah.
So I think today's session will be more about answering those questions, right? How to start coding, what can you do with code, what languages should they pick up first?
Yep.
And
I think, wait, give me a second. Peony. Here you go. So today we have something very, I think we wanted to include something really fun today, right? So for you, for all you people who are joining us today, can you actually, can you say hi? Just message us hi and tell us where you're from.
Yep. We see someone just joined, Bob. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob. So where are you from, Bob? And why do you want to learn to code?
Yeah.
So maybe we could type, why do you want to learn to code, Bob? Why do you?
Thanks for the like.
Thank you.
Please do share if you're watching in. Maybe your friends want to find out how to code as well. Maybe they have different questions as well. You never know, because code goes around everywhere these days, right? And everybody is just very familiar about what code is. But yeah.
Okay, so today we wanted to play this little game. So we have this Next Academy shirt,
t-shirt. We're all wearing it.
Yeah, we are all wearing it. So you can see the eat, sleep, code, right? So if you can see what we are doing now, here you go. Eat, sleep, code. Okay. So guys, if you are interested in if you want to get one of this, right? Our goal today is to get 10 shares.
10 shares. So all you have to do is just tune in, share it with your friends. As long as we get 10 shares, we're just going to pick out a random user. You might be the person, right? And just send in your size, and we'll just send the shirt over to you.
We'll PM you after this, and then send in and just ask you for your sizes, and that's pretty much it.
Yep.
Okay, guys. And for Instagram people, if you want to come on board and join this thing, I know it's a little bit tough for Instagram for us to track. So if you do come on board to Facebook, and say hi to us and give us a share as well. And from there, we will definitely, you can participate in this and get a chance to
win this shirt. Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll look like a coder. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Why not? Let's just get started.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Yeah. So we've gotten a few questions. For those who are just tuning in, we've got a few questions from Facebook about learning how to code, right? Or how to get started on coding. So the first question we got was from Ian Avon Kalim. He asked what should we do or know before we code, and how to code and practice as well. So what do you think, Audrey? Yeah.
I think learning to code, I think the first thing everyone needs to know is what is coding all about in the first place.
That's true,
I think I explained it quite a number of times, but really the simplest way is when we say coding, it really literally means speaking to the computer.
Yep.
So it's like, if I say talking, it's like speaking to Adrina.
Yep.
And what language do we use? What language are we using?
English.
We are using English right now. So when we say coding, we say, literally talking to the computer means coding. And we would be speaking in other different languages, right? It could be, Python, Ruby, JavaScript, those are just languages.
Right.
So I think from here you say, what should we know or know before coding, and what is a basic coding language? So Nova also asked, so it's mentioned coding is literally just talking to a computer.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Hi computer or whatnot, and using a language. So that is as simple as that, right? And then when you're talking to a computer, there are multiple languages. I think everyone heard of Python these days.
Yep.
There's JavaScript, Java, PHP. There are a lot of languages. Many ways to talk to a computer.
So it really depends on what you want to do as well with that language, right? What you're trying to convey to the computer, what kind of apps you're trying to build, websites, or whatever you want to show. Yeah.
So as a beginner, like people ask, how can we start? How can we get started? So I think the first thing first, you need to know is number one is everyone loves the idea of coding, right? Yep. Because coding is synonymous with Mark Zuckerberg and
Steve Jobs,
building amazing things. But what people need to also know is, do they really like to code or not?
Right.
So I think for Ian, you definitely need to explore and ask yourself, right? Do I like the idea of coding? And if I'm going to learn to code, would I put in the effort and the time to code? Because it's exactly like learning a new language.
That's true.
You will need to go and type code out. You cannot just be expecting to sit down and just sit down and suddenly you realize something. Always remember that this is just how you learn a new language. You need to practice.
That's true.
And I think
how to practice. And
how to practice. I think how to code, first thing first, you should start. Right. It doesn't matter what language you start, but I think you should start. Personally, my point of view would be it's also how Next Academy actually structured the course.
Right.
From our point of view, we always start off with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So one of the big reasons why we do that is number one is HTML, CSS, JavaScript would be one of the, I would just say that the learning curve would be definitely a lot easier. Right? That's number one. And number two, it's easy for visual feedback.
That's
so
true.
Every code that you type, right, you can see what's happening on the browser.
It's called front end for a reason, right?
Yeah, it's called front end for a reason. So you actually get to type code and interact with the code. So the way you practice is really getting used to really typing code, typing the things, and get feedback from the computer to see if you're getting it correct or not. So I think, Ian, that is the first thing you need to know. Like you don't need to be a genius to learn to code. You just need to start, but you need to make sure that you put in the effort.
That's true.
And when you're coding, my proposal is to start off with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, because that would be the easiest for beginners to pick up.
And it's most flexible as well, right? A lot of people it's in demand for a lot of front-end websites as well.
Front-end websites, exactly. And the way you practice is learn to get feedback from the computer.
The great thing about coding as well is that if it's wrong, it just doesn't work, right?
And you can always just change it. So don't worry if the computer will never break. The computer will obviously be intact, right? If you write the wrong code, the computer would just say, hey, it's wrong.
Right.
And then, okay, please change your code. That's about it. That is the beauty of a computer.
Right. So we've got somebody who just came in, Jaden Chin. Hi, Jaden.
Hi, Jaden.
Hi. I think you've also asked us a question on our Facebook.
Nice.
So you asked, how long does it take for an average person to master JavaScript?
Okay. Interesting question. So Jaden, you also asked another. I think it's you. You also asked this question. I started learning JavaScript and I would love to know about its application as well. Correct? If that's you, please say yes. Okay. So I think learning a language, JavaScript is just a language. Learning a language, so I think different people takes different amount of time to learn a language, right? Because, some people, it's a lot faster. Some people might take a bit more time, and that's fine. So it's very hard for you to say how much time you learn, because I've seen some people. I've seen some people who took time to, who learn 2-3 years of programming, and I've seen some people who take, some people really have left, right? 10 weeks, and then suddenly they are really, really good.
Yeah.
So it's very astonishing. So it's very tough to say, how long, it will take to master. But the question is this: what do you want to do with it? So I think having the motivation actually helps you learn faster and helps you learn. That's not you.
It's a different Jaden.
Okay, helps you learn better. So I think some people, I would say this, right? Learning the language part is the easy part, right? Learning the data types, right? Learning how to write the syntax. You need to probably memorize a little bit about stuff like, JavaScript, you have like some curly braces and all that really weird, weird things.
Symbols,
weird symbols.
Yeah.
That is the easy part. Where's the hard part? The hard part is putting all these things together, put them together, and make a proper program out of it. That is the hardest bit. So I think always remember, let me just write, you can see, right?
Yeah.
So always remember, the first part obviously is the syntax, right? Oh, can you see? Oh, can. Okay. Sorry guys, let me just, okay, yes. The first part is always the syntax. Right? This is the syntax. Syntax, if you played with JavaScript, you remember that there's all those weird curly braces and all that stuff. And then obviously, aside from syntax, there is also, you realize that with JavaScript, you have different data types, right? Data types. You also have different functions. You have special functions, right? So there are all these things, right? I think this one you definitely need to remember them. Data type, you also need to actually remember them as well. For functions, you can always Google them. Now, the hard part is not this, right? Because all this you can, if you need help, you can find,
online,
Google will be your best friend, right? I think the second part is the hard one. It's problem solving. Right? So always remember, Jaden, that when it comes to computer, I think learning JavaScript is here, but when it comes to problem solving, the computer doesn't miraculously know how to do, how to solve a problem for you. What you're trying to do, if you do not know how to solve that problem, you won't be able to write code that can solve the problem.
Right.
So always remember that. So number 2 is this, right? You need to, firstly, you need to understand how to solve the problem by yourself.
Right.
And then it goes down to the third part. The third part is what we call, you guys can see computational thinking, right? Computational thinking. So basically what happens here is that now that you come up with a solution, you need to learn how to break it down into small actionable steps that the computer and then
understand.
And write them in code that the computer can understand.
Right.
So so always remember, like, if human I say, hey Adrina, walk. You know how to walk, right?
Yeah.
Right? Or you say high five, right?
Yeah.
You know how to high five.
Right.
But you're gonna tell a computer, assuming Adrina is a computer, I will need to tell Adrina, raise up your right hand. Put your right hand forward, and touch, put your right hand forward. Okay, wrong. Raise up your right hand, put your right hand forward,
this way.
45 degrees. 45 degrees. Okay, touch my hand,
Right, yeah.
You actually need to break down the steps into that manner so that the computer can actually understand.
Right.
So I think in terms of mastery, people don't struggle here. People always struggle on the second and third.
Right.
Some people take it up faster. Some people might take a bit more time. So it doesn't really matter how much time you take.
Right.
It's about practicing.
Yep.
You need to practice problem solving, and you need to learn how to, write them in code. So in general, I've seen some people, can be as fast as 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
Set up. But I've also seen some people who take extra time to get used to it.
It really depends on the dedication, the time that you you allocate to it as well. I think a good way to look at it is also kind of like learning words, and it's also forming sentences, just like it is with any language, right? So it's the forming sentences and making sure that the other person, which is essentially a computer right now, understand what you're trying to want it to do, right? So you have to be very, very specific about what you want it to do.
So I think after you are familiar, this is only learning JavaScript, right? After you learn how to use JavaScript and being comfortable about it, then the second part appears, which is what do you want to do with it? So, for example, if you want to be able to use some of JavaScript's libraries, so then
is React one of the library?
Yes. So that was a framework. So 1, 2, 3. So once this is done, right? This is done. The next thing you would likely do is learning number 4, learning how to use libraries, right? Learning how to use, you can see libraries, frameworks. We have frameworks. So you can do this after that, and from here, for example, you can learn how to actually do other things like build apps from here.
Like YouTube runs on JavaScript, right?
Yeah. So those are some of the things, and this, when you start getting into the form part, that's where a lot of people talk about building apps and all.
Yeah, correct.
And also this is where you'll find that different languages would also serve different purpose. For example, Python. Python is known for very good finance libraries, right? If you ever want to do any finance apps, writing finance related code, or your moving averages and all. Python would be very good at it. So different language would have different strengths, right? And then, for example, JavaScript is very much known for frameworks, right? Especially the React framework. So that one is very, very everyone is looking at it right now.
Which is what we also teach here at Next Academy, right?
So I think React framework is something that you can look into as well. So, but first thing first, Jaden, you need to get this sorted. When you get this sorted, this part will comes in a lot faster for you. And this part really depending on your pace. Some people, I've seen some people, being able to be very comfortable with JavaScript, being able to build an app from end to end.
Right. Just solely on JavaScript.
On JavaScript with other things, right? That's totally fine. 3 months is fine.
Wow.
Right? I've seen some people doing it 6 months as well.
Okay.
I also met some people doing it in 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So
it really depends, right?
It really
depends.
But knowing your goal, that will help you shorten your learning time.
All right.
Yeah. I hope that helps you, Jaden. If you have any questions, continue,
just asking
us or messaging us so that we could share more.
Yep.
All right. So the next one.
All right. Next question we have from 2-person, Farah Nadira and Aloysius Cheong. Okay. So they asked how to start and where can I learn coding? So besides Next Academy, of course.
Okay. Jaden, I just saw your question. I will reply you in a bit, but let's just reply Farah's one first, right? How to start and where can I learn to code? I think there are a lot of online resources out there. Just Google, free coding resource. I think for me, one of the key things when you actually do this free coding resource is really trying to get get started, getting yourself familiarized with it. There are a lot of YouTube channels as well.
YouTube channels. There's a lot of apps as well. If you search online, it's basically a repository of all kinds of syllabus, whatever code that you want to learn, right?
I think at the start, right? If you want to learn how to start, usually beginner guides are quite standard, so I'm not too worried, what is on the internet. They're usually quite standard. You can always start off with HTML, CSS first, get yourself comfortable with them, because, and then after that, eventually get into the front end, the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, 1 to 3.
Actually, a lot of people, funnily enough, when they start coding, actually they started learning through their MySpace pages or editing their Tumblr pages or blog spots, So it's a very good learning tool because you're not essentially learning every word or you're going through a syllabus, but you want to change the background, right? like changing a background and the feedback is immediate, or you want to make a cursor, like with stars just going across the screen. Yeah. So those things, maybe if you have something already in mind, like a project that you want to work on, it most probably is utilizing a language, and you can just start changing it right from there. Yeah.
So I think that's totally great. You know what? For students who actually come to Next Academy, even when they come and inquire with us and stuff like this, we actually tell them like, hey, it's actually good that you actually get exposed to coding by yourself as well, because if you really want to code or not. And then when you start exploring and you start exposing yourself with it, you would look at it and say, hey, I realized that this is something that I want to do, right? And then when you want to do, then that's where you can decide to invest your time to join us. I think that's the best recommendation I get. I said that because for us, we want to be able to have people who wants to do it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
To join us, so that we can also help them and also help them reach their goal. Right? Some of their goals is to create websites or to build apps. So I think for Farah, I think that and Eloysius Cheong, the first thing first, you can just Google stuff as simple as how to start coding or coding with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Start with HTML, CSS first. Get used to the whole feeling of coding. Get used to it, and then when you get started, you'll realize that, hey, you know what? This is something that I want to do.
Yeah, that's true.
And then if you are really ready for it and you want to bring yourself to the next level, I would say join us, right? Because for us, we are not just here to obviously stuff you knowledge, but our goal here is to push you to be able to reach your goal, and your goal should be, I want to be able to code to be able to build something.
Yep, that's true.
So you will be accountable with that goal of yours, and we'll always ask you, are you reaching that goal or not? So I think that's one good way to start.
Yeah, actually, one good way of thinking of how to code, actually, it's not to think of how to code essentially what languages, but have a project in mind. Most of the times when people ask us, how do we start coding, how do we use JavaScript and all that, they already have an idea in mind. So maybe they want to make another Grab, like car hailing app or something. So think of how you can get there. Like how I started coding as well was because I wanted a to-do list. Right? And I didn't know what languages to start with or what to do. So what I did was I just went on YouTube and I searched like how to create a to-do list with any language, and that's how I was introduced to many of these languages as well.
Okay. I think that's great. We actually have very interesting questions. So Jaden and Joshua. So Jaden asked, is Python much more complicated than JavaScript? And Joshua also asked, how about Python? Should I start from HTML, CSS, then go to Python? I think both are, I think I can lump them together.
Right.
So for Joshua, let's start with Joshua first. It's okay to start off with Python first. It's no problem, right? But the reason why I usually tell people to start off with HTML, CSS is because people needs to get used to the visual feedback loop, right? What I notice is a lot of people, when they first start writing stuff, they are very scared that they write wrong things, right?
That's true.
And when you're doing Python or you're doing JavaScript,
it probably takes a longer path to get to that.
Not to say a longer path, is that, let's just say when you're writing Python, or also JavaScript, you're writing at the terminal, right? You sometimes you cannot imagine what the outcome will be like. It's a bit more of a conceptual feedback to you. You need to kind of remember how things are like, imagine how things are like. But when it comes to HTML, CSS, you are training your mind to say that, oh, you know what, I need to tell the computer, and then the computer will immediately get back to me what is my outcome.
Right. Like for example, changing a background. Then you want it to be red, it will come up red. You can see it immediately.
So when you first start with HTML, CSS, personally, people ask, do I really need that? Honestly, some people say like, all the websites, you use Wix, you use WordPress, you don't even need HTML, CSS. Okay, fair enough. But HTML, CSS gives you a bit of a foundation. Number one is getting used to writing weird looking symbols. That's one. That's something that a lot of people need to know, right? Really getting used to writing weird looking symbols. And number two, getting used to talking to the computer, interacting with it visually, right? But when you're able to do this two already, Then you go to JavaScript. JavaScript and Python, they are quite similar. So when you go to JavaScript, you can still be able to draw some like very interesting. You can be able to create interesting interactivity on your website.
Right.
And that's where you also learn how to write algorithms, write logic statements.
Right.
Yep. So I think for and that's where writing logic statements will come in very handy after that. So when you're starting with Python later, Python is basically, people use it for back-end purposes, mainly for back-end purposes. For JavaScript, you can use it for front-end and back-end. So for Jaden, remember, for JavaScript, you can use it for front-end and back-end. And for the back-end language, there are a lot of languages. JavaScript is just one of them. Python is also just one of them. There's so many. But that's why, you realize when you start coding different languages, you realize that different languages have different strengths.
Yep.
Right? Like for example, why a lot of people are learning Python today is because if you're talking about robotics, IoT, robotics, IoT, machine learning, AI, data science, even building apps, even especially the finance libraries, finance related stuff, that's where you realize that a lot of people are using Python for it. It's not that other languages cannot use it. It's just that so happily people who are building, the libraries, we talk about the libraries just now. It's just so happened that, we have a big community building the Python libraries and make it more and more versatile. And that's the reason why. In terms of which one is harder or which one is easier, both have their strengths and weaknesses. For example, with JavaScript, you have a lot more curly braces, all the weird things.
Right.
With Python, it's cleaner. That's why some people like Python a lot more. It's a lot cleaner. Visually cleaner, visually easier to pick it up as well.
Yeah, so Joshua just sent in a little bit more as well. He said he's studying from School of Business and still am, but don't really have much time to learn coding. So how to manage both different knowledge categories in such a short time?
Okay.
So I think this one is more, it depends on you as well, right? Because when I was in college as well, I was doing business and I was also learning coding on the side. And what I did personally was after class, I would just learn how to code, right? So it really depends on your goals. And like I said, I wanted to do a to-do list. Those things I knew I could do it like maybe within a week. So I set up mini goals and mini tasks for myself so that I know at the end of this week I have or maybe at the end of 2 weeks I have a project that's done already. So as little as you do, sometimes it may be, you think it's very little, but it's a very steep learning curve and you're actually learning a lot. So whatever I did in the very little time that I have while juggling my studies as well, it really helped give you that foundation in coding in itself.
I think that's she put it really nicely. I think the way to learn is learn with a goal in mind. Right? When we are young, when we are kids, right, our parents ask us to learn English, learn Mandarin. We just learn only, okay? We don't have a goal in mind. But at the time when we're young, we absorb things very well.
That's
we just sit there, okay, I need to do this. But now that you're older, I think for us, we all don't have all the time in the world. Just like what you're saying, you are studying and so on. So the easiest way to learn stuff is when you put a goal in mind. So like what she did is that her goal in mind was the to-do list. So you don't need to learn everything before you build a to-do list. What you can do is start off learning with a to-do list in mind and start, pursuing that path. When you start getting one app, you start getting one app done, the second app done, you realize that you're learning a lot more. And I think that is one of the most efficient way of learning.
And once you're very happy with your app already, maybe you built it in Python, maybe you could challenge yourself to learn how to do it in JavaScript, right? Because essentially all languages can do the same thing. Maybe some languages may take a longer route, but it gives you a good foundation of if you have a really good to-do list app already, you can just change it into different languages and see how that's like.
So just have a simple idea in mind. It can be as simple as, let's just say, to-do list, and then just go online and just say how to code a simple to-do list. Just as simple as that. That will get you started in learning to code. And that would be the best way to go.
Learn with the goal in mind. Yes, Joshua.
For Jaden asked what laptop you recommend. I think this. I think for now this 3 to 5 years, 3 years old laptop, 5-year-old laptop, I think it's fine. Both laptops are fine. So
it doesn't matter if you're
it
doesn't really matter as long as it's probably on i5 and 4 gig RAM. I think that should be fine already.
If you're using, I know if you're using Python, some of the language. Okay, one key thing is some of the languages might not be available on all laptops. Like off my head, I can, like Ruby, I know that you need to download a special program or whatnot, right? But if you're learning HTML, CSS, if you're doing HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Python, all those things are all built into your computer, so you don't actually need to worry too much. I think like computers, I've seen computers 3 years, 5 years, totally fine. So not much of a problem. The only time where you need to start thinking about those things is when, for example, I want to do gaming and things like this, building games and so on. That will require a higher requirement. But as a start, it's totally fine. Okay. I think let's move on. Okay. So Noval asks, how many languages should I know if I want to work in Facebook, Google, or big companies? Interesting question.
Interesting question.
Okay. Believe it or not, it's not about how many languages. It's about how good you are. So some of this Facebook, Google, big companies, you realize that their interviews are not about how many languages you know.
Yeah, that's true.
They actually give you problems, and you need to solve them in the most efficient way. So that is actually the one that really matters. If you remember, I talked about this. They don't really care about syntax. In fact, what you notice is that developers, I've seen developers 1 or 2 years in, right? Because the company decided like, today we don't want to use Python. For this one, we need to use Golang. Or for that project, we need to use PHP. Picking up new syntax and picking up new language is not a problem. When your foundation is strong, new syntax, new languages are pretty okay. Right? So when you go to these companies like Facebook, Google, whatnot, they care about the problem solving and computational thinking skills. They'll give you problem statements and ask you to find the most efficient way of doing it.
That's true.
So you definitely need, for that, you want to work in these companies, you need to practice your problem solving and computational thinking.
What you can do, actually, I follow this guy on YouTube. His account name is called CSS Dojo. CSS Dojo. So he actually worked at Google as well, and he gave some insights about the questions that they asked when he went for the Google interview. And they would just ask him questions like, if there are like 8,000 ads, how long would it take for them to, just very random questions that essentially maybe don't even have an answer, but they just want to see how you answer them, right? So how many balloons can you fit into a bus? There's no perfect answer to that, right? But they just want to see how you answer the question, how you go about it. So it really is like what Audrey said, the problem solving, your critical thinking, and your computational skills as well.
It's very interesting to see how they are looking for talent these days. Right?
That's true. Because if it says in your resume that you can speak even 7 languages, right? Like Spanish or English, it doesn't mean you're fluent at it or you can close sales, right? So it's essentially what that means, right? So
Okay. So next one, Colin Adria Chen asks, how can I practice coding and improve?
I think we answered that just now,
we
right?
kind of answered that. Let's just recap. You know, if you want to practice, I'm assuming that you actually already started coding a little bit. One way, the way I always tell my students on how to improve themselves when it comes to coding is, continuously, number one is when you already solved a problem, great, right? Later on, you can, I always ask the students to, after you do all your challenges, after the boot camp, redo your challenges again, right? And when you redo your challenges, you can use 2 ways. One is try to clean up your code and make it better, make it more efficient. Or number 2, solve the same problem with a different approach. So this is actually the advice that was given to me also by someone who in Singapore. So he owns a web agency, and he has been coding for I think a decade or more than a decade.
That's a long time.
And he said that is a practice that he wants to do. In fact, sometimes he will get his staff to do it. Then after a while, redo it. I want it to be more efficient,
right?
Or redo it in a different way. So that's the best way to to practice and to improve.
Yeah, because it actually works different parts of your mind map as well. And to see how good you are at a certain language, because you still have to keep practicing it, right? Yeah.
I mean, by the end of the day, a lot of solutions out there. You know, let's just say if I say, hey, can you give me an equation of 10? Yours is maybe I would say 2 times 5. You?
Oh, maybe I'll say like
20 minus 10. 20 minus 10. There's so many ways to get to one answer.
Yep.
Right?
That's true.
And you cannot make your mind just think that, there's one way to one answer. You actually need to expand your mind. That's good. Expand your mind to find out different ways to solve one thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay.
Okay, so hope you answered that question. So the next question is from Fazlin, Adila, and Dance. Okay. So how to learn code in the easy way? So we get that question a lot. Yeah.
It's so subjective.
Yeah, that's true. But I would say there's no easy way to learn how to code. I think you just have to go at it. Like we said, most of the time when people ask us, they want to code, how to start coding, what languages should I learn, they usually have an idea in mind. Like, wouldn't it be great if I had like a grocery app or a tracking app? So think of those goals in mind and then just kind of work backwards, right? So that could be an easy way for you, because I think if you start from scratch, like from a syllabus, maybe it's not relevant to you at all at that point in time. You don't need to know what 2 times 5 is 10. You know what I mean? It's not what you need at that point in time.
Yeah.
So the easy way is to just kind of try it out.
Get started.
And practice.
Yep.
And
like personally, I think when it comes to learning to code, there are a few perspectives. I actually wrote an article on it. To me personally, because I'm no longer young, okay, guys. I'm no longer young. And the same like you guys, a lot of us are no longer in our teenage days and we have all the time in the world. No, we don't have. Right? We are working, a lot of us are working adults, and the key thing is how do we learn efficiently?
Yes.
So for me, one of the things is how do I hack this, right?
Right.
So for me, a few things is this, there are a few signs I wrote about it, but I would mention it and you guys would, maybe later we can share the article, but think about it this way. With coding, there are different languages, a lot of languages. We call it high level, low level languages. Basically, low level languages are very similar to what a computer will understand. And the computer, computer understands binary 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1. But we human beings do not understand that.
Yep.
Right? So, but lower level languages is quite catered. It's very, I would just say it like, okay, so this is the most baseline. Computer understand this. Lower level languages are very close to that.
Very native.
In a way, very close to this.
Right.
High level languages instead is, let's say here, it's very close to human beings.
Right.
What we understand. So the first thing I will do is to find a high level language to learn, because it is similar to English.
Right.
So that is the first thing that I'll find. That's number one.
Like what languages would you say is high level?
So Python, Ruby, JavaScript, these languages are pretty okay, right? That's why schools are trying to introduce Python, because it's easier. You want to compare Python with languages like Java, for example.
Right.
Oh my god.
Java and JavaScript is different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is one thing, and then secondly, for me, the way I hack it or the way I think about it is, I always start off with HTML, CSS first. HTML, CSS, then JavaScript. So because these are front end languages, I always start with front end coding first, because front end coding helps me get used to the visual feedback. Right? It's not, honestly speaking, it's not intuitive for us to get conceptual, non-visual feedback. It's very hard to think about it. But if you're giving me visual feedback, everything I code appears on the screen, right? Appears on the browser. I immediately know if it's right or wrong.
Yep.
So you need to train your brain to actually get feedback.
That's
get
true.
feedback very often. So these are 2 ways I will get started. Of course, you will realize in the article I actually mentioned 6-7 things you need to consider when you start learning to code. And for me, this is from my personal point of view. The way I actually tried last time, long time ago. I actually tried learning to Python when I first started off. I just couldn't learn it.
Wow.
I just my head was just blank. I'm like, then after that, I was just talking to a friend, and I realized is that it's not that I can't learn the language, but with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, when I was coding that, it gives me a visual feedback. It increases. It's quite instant. It increases my curiosity.
Right.
It increases, my motivation to build something, because when I see a visual outcome, I know what I want. I say, oh, the next thing I want is I want to have the additional button over there.
Right.
The next thing I want is I want that button, when I click on it, right, the button will run away.
Right.
So it gives me, for me, it's more about hacking my mind.
Right.
So Vaseline, and then to me, that's one of the ways to make my learning to code life easier. That's the way I approach it. And everyone could have a different way, but so far, the way I go about it, and I see I actually recommended it to some people, and I realized that it's also a lot easier for them to pick up coding when they're using my way lah. But that's my way lah. Okay, guys, my way.
It really depends, on you.
Okay, Pat Adam.
Okay, Pat Adam. So he asked, can you give us an example of problems that you mentioned need a good problem-solving skill in order to be a good coder?
Okay, so very interesting. So for example, the most easiest example I could think of is, hey, can you write a tic-tac-toe? Can you build a tic-tac-toe? Right?
Yeah.
So there's one easy way, right? Can you build a tic-tac-toe? So then in your mind, you'll be like, okay, how do I build a tic-tac-toe that two players can play? Right? How do I build a tic-tac-toe? How do you determine if you win or I win?
Yeah.
It's because
the logic,
the logic. When the three things together, when the three things, the three are together in one line, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally.
Yeah.
So that's just one of it. So okay, those are just games. But let's just talk about something more interesting, like real life things. Like so, for example, I will okay. Just to think about it. Hey, okay, guys, like if for example, if I see a number, I want to change all the numbers from Arabic numbers like 1, 2, 3 to Roman numerals. The X. 10. I want to change it to X. Right. And there's one whole article, and I say, hey, I want to make my article very posh, right? Nice looking. I want to make it special. Instead of putting number, 10, 20, 30, 40, 100, and something like this.
Right.
I want to change all these numbers to Roman numerals, X, I11 or something. IV or IV or something like this, right?
A lot of X.
Yeah. So things like that. Just as simple as that. In those things can happen. And then I just say that, and I have a document. I have maybe a document of 1,000 pages, and I tell you, Adrina, can you help me? Is Adrina going to go through 1,000 pages?
No,
she's not going to. That is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And not just that, you still need to imagine if the number is 100. No. Imagine if the number is 114016. Wow, you need to change it to a Roman numeral.
Yeah. That's true.
The X1 IV or whatnot. That would be insane, right?
Yeah, that would be
really insane. So you actually need problem solving skills to think about it. Like,
how you go about it and how you're going to do it faster in an efficient manner, right? With code. Yeah.
How do I do it faster? How do I make it efficiently? How do I know that 9 is
how do you assign it to each other?
Yeah,
right?
9 is IX, right? And then 10 is X, if you'll be amazed, honestly speaking, you'll be amazed when you need to change your Arabic numbers to Roman numerals. You actually need to do a bit of mathematics on it.
Right,
it's insane. So that's just one example.
Yeah. It could be any problem actually. It could be, pick out all the even numbers, but numbers with like 4, just leave it out. It could be as simple as that. Yeah. Or it could be like there's like 4 pictures, sky or something.
Pat, I tell you one very interesting thing that I needed to do is this, right? Our course is 10 weeks long. But when I say 10 weeks, is 50 days, and it needs to exclude Saturday, Sunday.
Right.
It needs to exclude public holidays.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. If it's just 10 weeks and I don't care about everything, I just will literally go like on Monday to start on Monday and ends on Sunday, right? Then just 10 weeks, right? But I couldn't do that. You know why? Because there is that public holiday.
Yeah.
And last time we needed to do a 1 year long schedule calendar. Back then I needed to do. I got one of my staff to do it. He took 3 days to do it. And even after 3 days, there's errors.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? And then that's where we realized that this is madness. Like, we need to use 3 days to come up with this thing. So we decided to write code.
Yeah.
To calculate, to solve all these things, to make sure that, and you need to know, if the public holidays fall on a Sunday, then Monday
is also
a holiday.
And which public holiday? Which state are you in?
Yeah, which state are you in? I only take national holidays. So there are so many things. It's just insane. Like for me, it's insane. So we actually wrote code to solve that. That's the best way to write code.
Right. Okay, you're interested in joining. Thanks, Adam. So you
Pat, Adam, why not like this? We'll get later after the session. We will actually PM you. Okay, we'll message you on what's it called on Facebook, or you can message us directly as well, just in case. So keep a lookout for your message later. Okay. So
okay, how about next question?
Next question.
All right, next question is by Nilu Vespanathan. He asked, what am I able to do? So I think you can do a lot of things. Yeah, you can do a lot of things, right? So it really depends on what you want to do. Yeah. So
I think honestly speaking, really when we use the word coding means talking to a computer. What can you get the computer to do? Literally, if you want to get the computer to build and to create an app, yes, the computer can do that. If you want to get the computer to do machine learning for you, using all softwares, you can do that. Build website, yes, you can. Build games, yes, you can. You can
pretty much anything.
So long you need a computer, you need the computer to
do something. Then you can.
You can. We can elaborate on it later on.
You can also find a job with it. Yeah. So that's the other thing, right? Okay. So the next question we have is from Nur Farhana Mustafa. She asked, can you teach me how to build a website using code? Of course. Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, of course you can. Like what Audrey was talking about, HTML, CSS,
and JavaScript.
JavaScript. Those are some of the many...
that's a good way to get started. So as mentioned, Nur Farhana, the truth is this, right? You need to first think about what is your goal. So, there are a lot of website builders out there. There is Wix, there is Weebly, and so on and so forth. The question is, people always ask me, why do I need to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, right? When I can use Wix and Weebly. Yes, you can, right? Yes, you absolutely can. You actually don't need HTML, CSS, JavaScript to do it. But why do you learn it, right? Honestly speaking, because when you learn it, you want to be able to actually get more. What's it called?
The flexibility.
So, for example, you want to build some additional features and stuff like this, which the template doesn't have. You can actually, you can actually do it with HTML, CSS, JavaScript. But I think above all of that, to me, it is fundamental if you want to progress beyond. If you say I want to build an app, right, and so on. For me. Some people can jump straight into going to Python or going straight to the backend. But for me, HTML, CSS, JavaScript really helps you build the foundation.
That's true.
Right? So to me, it's like a house, right? Some people say that they can start building a house at the second floor. But for me, HTML, CSS, JavaScript is like the foundations of the house.
That's true.
You don't put the foundation, that's fine. But when you continue on without the foundation, your house might be wobbly. But when you have a strong HTML, CSS, JavaScript foundation, it actually helps you develop, further.
That's true.
So I think yes. So our course, that's why our course actually starts off with
HTML, CSS.
The first course actually starts out with HTML, CSS, JavaScript. From there, you will know a few things. From there, you will know if you really like to code, if you really like to type those weird looking characters, right? You will know. And then number two is that you get used to it, and you use that time to build your computational thinking. Because when you go on to the our second course or third course, or for example, some of you guys want to use Python, JavaScript, and to do really amazing stuff. You actually need really good computational thinking.
All right. So, Jaden's still here.
Before that, Desmond Sim.
Oh, sorry.
Desmond Sim is asking, is programming related to app developing? I think I will answer this question with Jason Ong. Jason Ong asks,
the difference between coding and programming.
Okay. So when we say coding, when we say programming, it's the same. Very, very simultaneous, right? Same thing, guys. But and then the thing is this. So since we now it's the same, the next question is, is it related to app developing? Yes, it is. So remember, coding programming is just, in simpler terms, talking to a computer. You can ask the computer to, you can work together with the computer to build an app.
Right.
So yes, you need programming or you need coding to build an app.
Right.
So that's required.
You need code to program.
Yeah. Okay, guys. There is 8 shares and 2 more shares. If you make it 10, we are going to be giving away this
shirt to
a random person. Who
so maybe so if you comment more, maybe you have a higher chance of
winning. But you can actually reshare the post. It's no problem. Just reshare it. It's no problem. One of the people will just randomly choose someone. Okay, Jaden asked, could you briefly explain what is Node.js? Okay, so as mentioned, I think this is so this is definitely a lot more advanced, a better, not better, but then this advanced question. So JavaScript can be used for front end and back end, right? So and as mentioned, we talk about JavaScript. They have libraries and frameworks as well. Okay, you can see frameworks, right? So after you learn the language JavaScript, you can also learn, and you know that JavaScript can be used for front end and back end, right? And JavaScript itself also have what we call a framework, right? They have frameworks. If you want to make it in a simpler term, the other way, the layman term will be like, frameworks are like, basically are like shortcuts, right? But then you need to use it according to my way, because I'm the one who writes the shortcut, right?
Right, correct.
You can build everything from scratch, like the way I do it.
Right.
But then I created the shortcut. You just use whatever shortcut I give you. So with front end, frameworks will be things like React.js, Vue.js, yada yada. With backend framework, one of the popular one right now is actually Node.js. So I think Node.js is, I mean, it's really powerful because Node.js is definitely famous for scalability. Right. Okay. And a lot of people are really building that community right now. And I think this Node.js community is fairly new. I was just talking to a friend because one key thing you always need to remember is how I don't want to say how new the community, how established the community is, right? So the more established the community is for a certain framework, for a certain language, means that the more resources you'll get.
Yep, that's true.
Right? The less established means less resources, then you need to figure out things by yourself. So Node.js is really good for scalability when it comes to building apps. So in a way, at some point to the point where say, I have 10 million, 20 million, 30 million using the thing at one go, Node.js would be one of the really key technology to actually scale. So definitely something that you can look into. But at the same time, as mentioned, based on experience and so on, there are also different point of views, right? So for example, Node.js, I think it is very powerful, but at the same time, when I talk to some of I can't remember which one. I think I talked to someone from Uber last time. I talked to some really big companies, very big, which have quite a number of people. So they actually transitioned into Node.js, and I actually know a lot of startups transition to Node.js.
Oh, okay.
Right? But then they transition out.
Oh, okay.
So you must understand that every framework has its strengths and weaknesses. And Node.js is very strong with scalability. It's a very powerful framework. I think the tricky part would be maintainability, right? Because I think different people have different ways of doing things, and sometimes there is no one standard. So if you actually start going to, like Jaden, if you actually start going into the tech community, it's really, really funny, like the things we say. So for example, Ruby on Rails, for example, this is also another framework for the Ruby language. It is known, they are it's not to say that they are dictator, but there is one leader of sorts, and everyone follows it, and then everyone follows the best practice. So even if when you're looking for resources, everyone tend to have one best practice, So it's very interesting. And then if you go to a different language, you have different. For Node.js, I think a lot of people have very different ways of doing things. It's very interesting, that's why I say. And sometimes it makes it so that it gets very confusing. So imagine if, let's just say I need to solve this problem and I solve it this way. When Adrina comes in and go like, why you solve it this way one? You know, it's so hard to maintain. And then she does it her own way. And then I come back in and look at the code and I'm like, wow, what code is this? So I think one of the big after, you know, when you start learning to code and things like this, I think people will start talking about maintainability, which is why, for example, in Grab, they actually looked at another language, for example, Golang, right? Because when you're using that language, there's literally they all reduce down to one way of doing things means one way of doing things, right? It's very interesting, right? So so powerful language, Jaden, this is a very powerful language. At the same time, I would say that for me, just my personal point of view, for me, it could potentially be a language that is, when you have, it's more of an intermediate framework. I think it's more of an intermediate framework. You can do it as a total beginner, it's no problem, but I think you get more value, start understanding why is there so many differences here and there. When you take it as an intermediate framework for you to look into. So so for me, I always tell people, hey guys, you know, start off, for us we teach Flask, right? Start with Flask first, then after that you can venture into different frameworks, different languages and stuff like this. But one key thing is that you need to have one, you know, your source of truth, right? And then everything is relative to that source of truth, right? Then you go like, oh, so Nodejs is different with Flask in this manner, right? Or so Ruby on Rails is different with Flask in this manner. I think that would be a better way to also learn things as well. Okay, I
think I've just Jaden just said,
thank you, Jaden. Okay.
Yes, and this webinar is still available on later. Later it's not, but every other week we have it, right?
I think every other week, there will be replay. Okay, awesome replay, guys. Okay, next question. Let's Hannah.
Yes.
Okay. Hannah Najwa asks, where and how do you get ideas, inspiration for your project?
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this. So over here we have a pitch. If you're not aware, we have a pitch at the end of every 10 weeks, right? So at the last 2 weeks in your program, you have to come up with a project. So what we do is sometimes we give them a theme. So like the current theme right now is fitness, right? So it really is up to students as well. So we give them a theme and they just come up with any apps that they can think of, right? But essentially, where you get your ideas and inspirations from your projects is pretty much what problems are you trying to solve, right? Because any business or any app that you're using these days is essentially solving a problem for you, right? Like Grab is giving you like rides from one place to the other. So perhaps if you're trying to start to code, you can just think of what is a problem that hasn't been solved yet that I can use and other people can take and use it as well and do the advantages to them.
Yeah, right. I think that's definitely one good point of view. There's another point of view that a student actually came up and he is, I call him an indie hacker. So when we use the term indie hacker, means that these people just hack, do random stuff and then just for fun, right? Okay. And I said, how do you come up with so many ideas? He just said this. He said, actually all the ideas you could think of, right? There's 7 billion people on Earth. It's very likely someone think about it already. Right? So very likely someone's going to build it already. But he said this, it doesn't matter. For him, he said, if someone built it, fine. I will just build the same thing. But then, but make it better, or I add one additional feature, right? So I think it's totally fine to be building something that the world already have. Is totally fine. But for you, it's number one is to use it as a practice. Number two is add an additional feature that you could think of. So I think this is one thing that we also, when I talk to the students, when during the 10 weeks, then they need to spend 2 weeks to build their final project, and this is the conversation that we have. I just said that your idea that you have. It's the same like Facebook, or it's the same like Meetup.com, or it's the same like Airbnb. So I asked them, so what is one feature that you think you can add on that would stand out, that would make it stand out? Don't tell me payment system. I don't really care about payment. I don't care about login anymore. So tell me one thing that can stand out. And wow, it's very interesting to see some of the ideas that they have. Like one of the ideas that they had was, how do I measure the size of my muscle? My muscle, right? how do I measure the size of my bicep and how it grows throughout the period of time? So they
use a credit card.
Yeah, you saw it already. But they wanted to measure it with the biceps with the credit card. So because the credit card size will never change, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of how
near or
far your credit card size, we know what is the size of a credit card. And so from there they are going to do it like, if the credit card size is this size, then it would mean that
your bicep is this size.
It is like in relative to the credit card, it's going to be 10% bigger than the credit card, 20% bigger than the credit card. So I think this is some very interesting things. I've also seen like some app where the way, like there's one particular app that I really like is where speed reading. So you want to change speed reading. So one of them actually built a Chrome extension where you choose the paragraph, I think, and then the words start disappearing. Then you need to start reading really, really fast. So you can actually increase the speed or whatnot. Then after the words disappear, then after that it will resume back to normal again with some particular missing words, and you need to figure out, then this is how you test if you actually understood what you read. Then the missing words you need to fill in the blanks. So I think
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, and we also have like a fish tank downstairs that's coded to do something. Well, we have a fish tank downstairs that's connected to a Raspberry Pi, a computer.
So basically what happens is that the fish, so these students, they decided to do a small ecosystem. There's a fish tank and there's like a plant on top. So every 1 minute or every, I think 1 minute, the water filter will bring the water up to the plant. So all the fish poop and
fertilizes the plant. Right, okay.
And then apparently the plant will also have like some nutrients to go back down to the fish. But of course we still feed the fish
just in case, right?
Yeah, so it's fun stuff.
Yeah, so the idea can be as silly as the bicep with the card thing.
It's not silly, it's pretty good.
Or the fish tank thing, the inspiration can come from anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So let's go on to the next question. So next question is from Jaya Kantan, Jaya Mohan. Hope you're here. He says that I would like to learn from fundamentals, and how can we earn a side income from here?
Okay.
So if you would like to learn fundamentals, I think Audrey did a very good job in explaining HTML, CSS, start off front end because of the visual feedback. It's very easy. It's easier to pick up as well. And there's a lot of resources out there. So the second part of your question is, how can you earn a side income from there? So actually, a lot of people are asking for these services as well. You don't have to think of coding. We have to build another Facebook, or we have to build another Uber. Sometimes people want to, maybe they're selling like clothes and they want a website, right? I would hire somebody to figure it out for me. How to set up a website, and I want the background to be specifically this color or something. Like some people just don't have the time, but obviously as well. Not everybody has time to just figure things out on their own. So I had friends in college as well who had basic coding skills, but a lot of people kind of hired them to build websites for them, and they were just informational. So what you could do was like, it could be the Wix thing, or it could be Wix, or they just set up a website for you and you get paid for it. So
I think one key thing is this. Honestly, for me, when I look at this question, I think yes, when you're good at it, you have a lot of side income opportunities, right? But always remember one thing: when it comes to coding, it is very simple, right? It either works or it doesn't work, right? So you think about it in a way where, let's say there are some other subjects where it's very gray, right? You can let's just say marketing. You can run a marketing campaign, even you're not the best at it, you can still get some results. Okay, coding is very simple. It either works or it either crashes.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think for me is that when you want to get a side income and everything, yes, you can definitely hustle for it. I've known a lot of people who hustle for a lot of side income with coding. But my personal point of view is that make sure that you're good at it, right? Because my point of view, when you're actually building websites for people, it's related to other people's businesses, right? It's not just about building side income for yourself, but it's also about helping other people grow their business. And for me, the most ethical way I would look at it is make sure that you are very good. Make sure you don't
have value.
No, make sure that you are good, right? Make sure that you don't just do things and then just leave. It's okay that you are you're a beginner and you decide you manage to get side hustle, great for you. But make sure that you see through it to the end to make sure that everything goes well.
Yeah.
When you do that, when everything goes well, when you're when you're professional about it, when your work ethics is there, the side income will just come in because it's very much based on word of mouth.
That is true.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So next question is this is a good question from Chan Jong Jet and Nelson Chi Fong. He asked, what professional certification for coding is broadly recognized in Malaysia? Yeah, so this is another question that we always get. There isn't a professional certification that's widely known anywhere, actually.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times, you can actually just go, like college, you get degrees for, IT computing or computer science as well. But even then, we would say that don't focus so much on the certification, because a certification doesn't really mean that what you're doing or the languages, that you're proficient in any of the languages. It just means that you went through the syllabus, right? So what actually employers want to see at the end of whatever you've learned is what you've created, like what projects. You can do. What you can do, how flexible it is, what the languages that you use, whether you can, like what Audrey said earlier, like whether you can recreate those things in a different language as well. Yeah. So what is important is the problem solving and the here. So it's the problem solving and the computational thinking as well.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Right. The way the professional papers that I could think about today would be obviously things like financial planner. Let's use financial planner as the simplest way to use this as an analogy. Just because someone get a certified financial planner cert, does that mean that the person is a good investor? I've met a lot of really good investors who earn a lot of who really knows how to invest, who doesn't even have who doesn't even have a certification. Right. I've met people who are certified and when you put your money with them, you lose money. So that's the same key thing. Well, in Malaysia, there isn't exactly a professional certification body or something like this. But one key thing to note is that with coding, it's very simple. Like with coding, what I really care about as an employer, right? I do employ coders as well. As an employer, what I care about is not the cert. Is can you do your stuff or not? I in fact still get you through the coding interview. I want to make sure that your computational thinking and problem solving skill is there. I want to see how much time you spend on GitHub, building your GitHub portfolio. Okay, GitHub basically is a repository for all your code, right? And not just that, right? I also want to look at the portfolio. What have you done? What have you tried? What new technology you have undertaken? These are key things I actually look at.
Yeah, instead of the cert, right?
The cert is just, I think it's a good to have. Like you look at
like a trophy.
Nice. You have a cert. In fact, if you have a cert, then I expect so much more from you, right? But by the end of the day, the reason I will hire someone is you need to still go through all these things, and plus my
own test.
In my own test, I will still need to. I still want people to go through that.
Right.
Those are very important. It's very interesting, with the world of coding. It's still very fragmented. Like with accounting,
you need ACCA.
With accounting, there is only two big bodies, right? That governs the whole accounting framework. Accounting is only IFRS and GAAP, right? Yeah, you need to know how IFRS does it. You need to know how GAAP does it. That's about it. But with coding, you have so many languages, so many frameworks. Who is there to say that this framework is better than that? No, because every language, every framework has its strengths and weaknesses. So it's very tough. It's very tough to say that I have a professional body for this and everyone else is useless. You'll be amazed to see that there's some WhatsApp is built with a language that is barely anyone knows how to knows it. Barely any coders. It's only a handful of coders who do it, but it is so powerful, right? Who are you to say that language, because it's not very popular, it's entirely out of the window? No one can say that. So I think with professional certification, it's very hard to say that just because you have a professional certification, you're good at it. Not really. You still need to prove. You still need to go through that whole interview process, building process, and whatnot.
That's true. Okay, so we've got Ian here. Last one. Okay, how about we go through the last one here? So we've got a question here from Arif Hamid. He asked, what is the purpose and objective of coding? Isn't the purpose of coding to enhance tech in robotics, AI, and etc., and improvise softwares and creating new programs engineered like Tony Stark?
What do you think?
So of course. So the purpose of coding is like what we've been saying, right? You have a goal in mind. How are you trying to get the computer to do something for you? What language are you going to use to reach your goal?
Yep.
So like you put in some examples here, like robotics, AI, improvising software, and like Tony Stark. Yeah, exactly. So Tony Stark created
Jarvis?
Yes. So he created Jarvis, So it served the purpose, right?
Yeah.
It could be, you put it under robotics or AI, right? So it really depends on what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
So that is the objective of coding is to, so the way I look at it is that you have a problem that you want to solve, and you know that languages, all these languages in the computer can help you get there and do it.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is just find a path to get there and just do it. And once you start on a language, you just realize that, oh my God, every other language can also do it in different other ways, right? So yeah, and that's essentially how you learn how to code.
Yep. So I think always remember when people say what's the purpose, objective of coding, okay, there are plenty, people have many different viewpoints. Some people go like, you need to future-proof yourself. That's the reason why you learn to code.
Right.
Because next time in the future, the world becomes Industry 4.0. That's the reason you need to learn to code. There are a lot of objectives and whatnot. But really, literally, learning to code is really just talking to a computer. Your objective, your purpose of learning it needs to come from you.
Yep.
Right? It cannot come from anyone else. Like, I cannot force you to learn something that you don't want to learn. So maybe yourself is to give a goal.
For yourself. Yeah, it can be as like the bicep app, it can be a fish tank, it can be anything, right? So as long as you have an objective in mind that you want to fix, you can just pretty much do it. We got pet feeders before because people weren't home to feed their pets.
Pets and so on. I think so Ian asked about how about ERP. So I think I was just looking at it this. I think ERP is a system software by Oracle. So basically think about it. Coding or whatnot is the most, we all call it open. Coding and then all these frameworks are all open source, meaning it's available to everybody, right? And then let's just say things like Oracle or whatnot, they decided to build a system, right, on top of it. And then they get you to use their system, and you need to learn all the rules of their systems to be able to build something on top of their system. So basically, it's just different ways. It's just like, it's just the same thing goes. It's just like I have a lot of data. I could use I could really use SQL and to whack through my data, right? I could do it myself, or I could use Microsoft Excel, or I could use Google Sheets. If I use Microsoft Excel and I use Google Sheets, means that I need to learn how to use Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets to do things. You can actually do it with code. You can, right? It's just a Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets. Is built on top of code, right? A software built on top of code to make life easier for you. And then so you need to
tabulate.
To tabulate. So you need to use this. You need to learn about, let's say, Google Sheets, and then to build your own things on top of it. So I think that's pretty much it. So when it comes to ERP or when it comes to softwares, so you need to learn about their own software. What is their software about? It's just another learning curve. And usually when people build their own software like Oracle, then the Oracle will come up with an Oracle certification or something like that. So Oracle, because you're using their softwares, they would they want you to use their software as opposed to using other people's software. So you end up being locked down to
because you have to pay as well.
You have to pay as well.
So
that's just life lah. So these are not what I call it. These are open source software, like open source stuff like frameworks and everything. You realize that it's open for everyone to use it. You can build anything with it. Then you realize as you go on, you realize that there are some things that are closed, right? If you ever use other people's software, let's just say Oracle software, you need to pay Oracle.
Yeah.
Right. So those are, close. It's a closed ecosystem.
Right.
But we are very fortunate that in the world of technology, there are a lot of people who are very
generous.
nice, very generous, and that's why we have a lot of open source stuff.
Yeah.
And today, like when you're learning to code, like at least at Next Academy, we are all using open source stuff, right? Yeah. So those are one things.
Okay, one question from Joshua.
Joshua was going to ask about robotics or AI relationship with coding, but thanks for answering that. So okay,
no problem.
awesome, that's done. Do you guys usually go for
any tech conferences? If so, would like to know if there's a chance for gathering for it.
Okay. Tech conference. I mean, there are definitely tech conferences around, right? But usually, I think a lot of tech conferences that we see are quite more like startup conferences.
Yeah. And startup conferences or talks. Actually, funnily enough, Audrey is giving a talk tomorrow. So if you want to see her, you can go to
try in at KL Eco City.
KL Eco City at what time?
It starts around 7, so 6:30. I'll be there around 6:30 already. It's by the Growth Achievers. Growth Achievers group.
Rising Stars,
Growth Achievers.
Yeah.
If you want to come and you can catch me there.
It's free tickets as well, and there'll be other speakers as well that will join her. People who have been very established in the startup
in the startup world, the entrepreneurship world. Definitely something very interesting. But yes, you know what, like Joshua, maybe I would run some event where people can gather here and really learn more about tech, right? Because I think I had quite a number of people asking me about hey, you know what? How do I start building an app? Do I really need a mobile app? What's the difference between hybrid apps and native apps? Like there are so many people asking me these questions. I think definitely a good idea, Joshua, to actually get this done.
And I hope to see you there if you make any.
Okay, do you manage to get 10 shares? Can we give this shit out? Yes or no? I have no idea. Have we reached 10 shares?
How do we check? Okay, let's see.
One. Actually, I also don't know. We can actually share in groups and stuff like that. Wow. Okay, there is. I don't know.
We don't know how many. Yeah, but perhaps one of our staff will go through the numbers.
Pardon?
Oh, the laptop. Okay. How many shares?
Laptop. You can tell that. I only see all. Guys, I only see all the likes. I'm like semi-blind here.
If you guys can see the shares, and if it's not enough, please share. Then we will send out a free shirt. To somebody.
To someone random on the group.
Someone lucky.
Okay, I think that's really pretty much all the questions that we have, right?
Yeah, pretty much all.
It has been a really good session with you guys, and thank you so much for tuning in and asking more questions. We're going to be doing one of these sessions 2 weeks later. If you have more questions, you can ask us, or you can come on to our. You can come and meet us, or you can come onto the website and there's that
little chat board,
little chat thing. You can ask us questions over there as well. We can try to answer you too.
Any way you can.
In
any way you can. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask. If you want to call us, just call in during working hours.
I really love the questions that you guys are asking because you guys are actually thinking about it, about for me it's very important that you actually need to have a purpose when you learn to code. The last thing I've met, my experience is I've met really, really smart people who pick up coding just like that, but they have no purpose in how to use coding. And then I'm serious, it was a girl. She was really, really smart, right? Like, things that people take 3-4 hours to do, she can do it in half an hour.
Wow.
And then when I meet her again, I say, how is it going? Like, because she's one of the smartest people I've met. And she said, I've not touched coding for a long time. I don't know what to do with it. Such a pity. It's what a waste. So I think when you have a purpose, it really helps you reach your goal. And it really helps us as well to help push you towards that goal and help inspire you to get to your goal. I think that is very crucial. But if you have no purpose, you realize after a while you just lose steam when you're learning to code. Really. Coding it's not the easiest thing, right? Really honestly speaking, it's not the easiest thing. It's just like working out, man. Getting 6 packs is not easy.
Nothing is that easy.
Nothing is that easy.
Yeah, that's true.
But the thing is that when you really when you have the goal, right, you would actually want to.
You put in the effort and to get there. Yeah.
Oh, we have 9. Oh no.
Oh,
Okay, so I think this time around
We'll
we
save it for the
didn't-
next round lah.
we'll save it for the next round lah, huh, guys.
So
Okay.
you can invite your friends
Hey, what you-
before. Yeah, even
Two
before
weeks,
the
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks time, guys. All right, I think that's pretty much it.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have any questions, reach out to us.
Mhm.
And our next intake that's happening is in September, so
25.
25th, right?
Yes.
So, if you're thinking about joining, or if you're thinking about joining, we also have the part-time intake as well, right? Regardless what, feel free to reach out to us. Be it learning to code part-time or learning to code full-time.
Yeah.
Both needs you to be, to put in the
Dedicated.
commitment.
Yeah.
The dedication. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time.
All right.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye-bye.